Hi friends, in Planet Earth Dating, it's Sunday, July 4th, 2021. 4th of July being a day that some people feel good about and other people feel not so good about. The British don't think it's a great day. That was a day that lawless criminals stole their country.
That's right.
And the First Nations people obviously don't think that this is a day to commemorate. It's a bad day. It's a day of grieving. And we do acknowledge that there are other people that think it's a good day, but it's a controversial day, is how we would consider it. And as always, the authorized souls are child souls from the even deeper, denser dimensions, and all other souls from all other dimensions, as long as the souls are already living by the many search for truth rules already given by the search for truth leaders way above us to the search for truth community in the depths. One of the important rules is to attempt to maintain an attitude of curiosity.
That's true.
Throughout the life, really day by day and moment by moment, to the best of our abilities, to being curious about the things that we observe, things that we read, things that we are experiencing, things that we believe and think, and to notice if they seem to match the fact patterns.
Oh, that's true.
We were watching a scientist, Guy McPherson. He's a climatologist, professor emeritus in maybe climatology and maybe University of Arizona or something like that, but well-credentialed and part of a group of climatologists who has broken ranks with the mainstream. The mainstream has basically been soft-pedaling the problems for a really long time, and now, according to this group of 30-something climatologists that have broken ranks, we've passed a number of tipping points, and basically the cat is that's the mixed metaphor.
Yeah.
You're saying the cat is out of the barn.
That's what they were saying.
And the troubles are now calming, and there isn't going to be anything that is within humanity's power to stop it. And one of the big troubles is the methane that's stored in the seabed floors. And as the permafrost thaws, as the Arctic warms, as the seabed begins to burp the methane, the temperatures are going to spike beyond that which humans are able to withstand, and they believe temperatures will spike beyond that which all life on Earth is able to withstand.
That's right.
And the real question, one of the real questions is, how quickly will the seabed burp? Will it burp all at once, in which case there's likely to be an 18-degree temperature spike quickly, and that might be similar to nuclear warfare in how quickly life on Earth would be extinguished. And based on Horatio Ivanov's research, and he was very thorough, his research that was done in maybe 2014, 2015 would be our guess.
Yeah.
That doesn't really work. It seems like that would be the gentle way, but that humanity doesn't acknowledge it, and a lot of life on Earth doesn't acknowledge that weird thing just happened. So, based on Horatio's experimentation, a slower demise is more effective because people will begin to acknowledge that they're dead.
That's right.
And this brings up the question of the day, because we have observed in our healing practices, both of us and many of our students also, other students, have observed that it's very difficult for people who have died to notice that they died.
Yeah.
It's the change is so slight as to be difficult to discern, especially if you're in an event of mass death. They're talking about the Miami condo collapse.
Yes, they are.
And there was some article, maybe by the New York Times, that had pictures of some of the known dead. And we were asking to be shown what those souls were doing now, post-demise. And one of them, it was a family of 3.
That's right.
And they were arguing about whether or not they were dead.
That's right.
The older gentleman was saying, "Oh, I think we're dead. I think that's my cousin over there, and I know he's dead." And the younger man, the son of the wife, the stepson of the gentleman who's saying, "I think we're dead," he's saying, "There's no way. There's absolutely no way." And the woman who's the wife of one gentleman and the mother of another is viewing this as a family squabble, and she doesn't want to take sides between these 2 men, both of whom she loves, and she's just going to let them kind of like work it out, and then she'll go along with the agreement. And the question on the table is, are we dead, yes or no? And that's just one anecdotal example.
That's right.
And typically somebody's talking about how historically it has worked, and it seems like some historian type who's being pushed to the forefront, or the spotlight is shining on him, or he's being handed a microphone and doesn't feel excited about the opportunity to speak publicly on this topic. Feels
very uncomfortable.
Thank you. Perfect. Very uncomfortable. And he says historically the relatives of the recently deceased, the dead relatives, the previously deceased relatives would show up, and they would say, "Oh, there's Mom, but Mom's dead. Mom, am I dead?" And Mom would nod and smile benevolently and gesture, "Come this way." And the recently departed would come to understand that they too had crossed over.
That's right.
And that's how it has always worked. And that person wants to fold up their papers and leave the podium.
Yeah, that's right.
And now there's like this hue and cry from the audience upstairs.
That's the feeling.
They're shouting and they're saying, "But why isn't it working now?" And then there's other shouting answers, and it's a variety of answers. And some people are saying, "It's the recently departed. They won't listen to the family members who are meeting them." And other people are saying, "The family members aren't even coming." And then somebody else is saying, "The family members are going to where the meeting is supposed to occur, and the recently departed has crossed over in a different place they were never supposed to be in." It's like, what's that guy doing in that bar? He's not supposed to be in a bar. There's some guy who died in a bar fight, but that's not my son, quote unquote. "My son wouldn't die in a bar fight. My son told me he doesn't even drink."
Right. This being the dead mother who's speaking.
The dead mother who's supposed to meet her son when he crosses over, so that he understands that he just died. And so she's waiting for him at church.
That's it. That's what it looked like. It looked like church.
Where he told her he spends his Friday night. And he died in a bar fight.
That's right.
Somebody says he must be Irish, because that would be a Friday night mass, and he died in a bar fight. And the Irish are known to be Catholic alcoholics, and we have a lot of Irish heredity, so just to set the record straight.
In this DNA.
Right. Yeah. So we acknowledge that is a family pattern, and that's one reason to not drink.
Right. Still a lot of yelling in that room upstairs.
Guys, how are the dads supposed to know that they're dead? We're so interested in this. How's it going to work? How are they going to know they're dead? Because already we've got this huge problem of clouds of the dead who don't know they're dead. And they're confusing each other. And they're going to confuse the dead who join them, who will be themselves confused.
That's right.
How are we going to break through this logjam? How are the dead people going to know that they're dead? it's approaching noon, and there are owls carrying
There's
on.
multiple owls calling.
Now they stopped.
Yep. How are the dead supposed to know that they're dead?
Somebody's saying they can do things that wouldn't normally be possible. And they were talking about the dreamer who was there in that host life, this most recent overnight.
That's right.
Who had a traumatic event and picked up a crying boy and was running and carrying the boy, and then suddenly realized that this crying little 2-year-old is strangely light, and suddenly realized, hey, maybe I'm dead, maybe we're both dead. And that would explain a lot.
Yeah, it would explain a lot.
And so things like that, where there's an event that's occurring that doesn't seem likely to be possible, these dreamlike events.
That's what they're talking about, dreamlike events.
Dreamlike events could suggest that we're dead. They're talking about this era of the healing practice, possibly before we began to teach.
Yeah.
So it would be before 2007.
That's right.
And the instructions from above were to just really try to push the envelope, and right after a healing session when the portals were open the widest, to try to do things like stick your arm through a wall.
That's right.
And we were not successful. We tried many times over a long period of time, a lot of different ways, and it never worked. And so we became convinced that we were of the same density as the dimension that surrounded us. We were not less dense.
That's right.
But that didn't answer the question if the entire dimension were a dimension of dead.
Right.
And that's how it is. Somebody's trying to make this point, is that's how it is when there are these layers of the astrals, and everybody in the layer is of the same density, and the dimension is of that density, but they're all dead, which we can tell because we can see their feet floating in the air, and so quite obviously that's impossible. Unless they're dead, in which case it's very possible. How are the dead supposed to know they're dead? Especially if we have some events of mass death coming up, as might be the case with the permafrost burps occurring, releasing methane. We're supposed to say what we think, and we don't know who's speaking, so we're not sure who's being questioned.
Yeah.
But they feel like they have studied this topic, and they really feel that the slow releases of methane will work better than the faster releases, and so they would very much like to see the methane released from the seabed slowly in burps that create events of mass death that are observable by other people.
That feels calm.
And hopefully they'll become some kind of awareness that we're all passing over now.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody is sure that will work.
No, right?
But they're saying they're sure that it won't work to have a sudden release.
That's what they're saying.
That has been tested, and that doesn't work.
It doesn't work, and they all feel sure that doesn't work.
They're sure about that, and they're willing to test the slow releases and see how it goes. How are the dead supposed to know they died? We think their loved ones are supposed to come and greet them, the loved ones that they know are dead. So if we see Carmen walking around the corner of the house, we're dead.
Yeah, we're dead, because we know she's dead.
Yeah, or Alan.
Yep.
Right.
Okay.
Or Peter.
Mm-hmm.
Or John, or Mark. Any of them. Randy, Stan.
Libby.
There you go. Both Libbies.
That's true.
And Jacques.
And Jacques.
And Rosie.
That would be a clue that we are also dead.
Right.